Good morning and welcome to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning. That's JC, John Cornell. I'm Shane Matthews, and it is 2020, and we're coming to you live from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
There you go.
Large enough to serve you, small enough to care.
Right.
JC, Happy New Year,
right.
my
Happy
man.
New Year there, QB. It's a great time to discuss sports as we go into 2020, and Happy New Year to all those watching and listening. And, of course, we are available to you Monday through Friday from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock here at 352-353-7465 as a number to contact us. You can watch us on Facebook Live and on YouTube. My man, did you watch a lot of football over the weekend?
Oh,
It
my
had to be.
goodness.
The bowl season is great. I know people complain about it, but I would rather have it than not have it.
I love having a different game or a couple games every day.
Yeah, man. We used to have there was 4 games yesterday, right? New Year's Day.
Right.
Wasn't there a time when we had something like 8?
Yeah, on New Year's Day, but now they spread them all out, and I didn't really want to stay up late last night and watch football, but for some reason I did.
Yeah, I watched that Georgia game too till midnight.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very physical game. Let me tell you something.
That Baylor quarterback, you got to feel for him. I don't know how many concussions he's had, but he didn't know where he was in the fourth quarter of that game when he got knocked out of bounds. And I guess guys like you and I stay up late enough to watch that, but he was hit all night long, and give him credit for hanging in there. But once Baylor threw in that reserve quarterback, those backups, Georgia teed off and takes the Sugar Bowl 26-14, and good for the SEC and good for Georgia.
Yeah, we'll get more to it later in the show, talking other bowl games, but let's get to the big game down in we see that the Gators won, so you wore a sweatshirt.
Well,
obviously.
there it is, baby. I mean, come on.
So
I think this is like $20 somewhere.
Huge win for Dan Mullen and the Gators. They go
That's
11-2 in year 2. 2 New Year's 6 day back-to-back wins against Michigan and Virginia, and you know, I thought it was a great team win. You know, I've had a lot of people text me the last few days complaining about our defense. Well, here's my thoughts on that. They give scholarships at Virginia. They have coaches at Virginia. And let me tell you something. That quarterback is so athletic.
Played out of his mind.
And their receivers made unbelievable contested catches. And Graham, we busted a few coverage here and there, but that happens. You never hear the Gator fans talk about when the other team bust coverages. Right. But I thought it was a great team win. The most important thing that stood out to me about this game, JC, was we only had one player who had already declared to go to the NFL, C.J. Henderson, missed the game. Yeah. But Grenard played.
He sure did.
Zuniga played.
That's right.
Everybody
P.
played.
Ryan was
and
the player of the game.
That to me
that's great.
Shows how Dan Mullen has gotten these kids to buy into the program and play for your school.
Yeah, I mean, you add value, I would think, as a senior or a junior considering to come out when you play in this game. I know you have risks involved, but that happens when you suit up, right? So good for them. And you don't think LaMichael P. Ryan got some people's attention on that game? I mean, come on. He had the best game of the season in the bowl game that had a nationwide audience, only one game being played on television, and P. Ryan was the MVP of the game, running out of his mind and really capping a season that I think going in was kind of so-so. It wasn't great, it wasn't bad, but he had only had 538 yards going into that game. And the thing is that he showed his skill and his speed running. That 61-yard run at the beginning of the game really set the tone. And I'm thinking good for him. He's just put himself in the top 3 rounds of the draft. Possibly.
I think a lot of it's going to determine how P. Ryan does at the combines, because so much of that is important nowadays. QB. He's a very good player. The thing that's going to allow him to play at the next level is his pass-catching abilities and his pass protection skills. I think that goes overlooked. Yeah. If he gets in the top 3, that'll be great. He may be a little later. I think a lot of it's going to be determined what happens at the combine.
Well, 13 rushes for 138 yards in that game, and of course the 61-yard run in the opening minute of the game. I was very impressed with that. I liked the way the offensive line pushed him around a little bit, and I thought Trask was serviceable. I mean, he did not hurt his team, and he has really had quite a season coming in for Felipe. I think Felipe, and I really liked the fact that he was at the game in his uniform.
Well, he was wearing his jersey. He wasn't in uniform.
Well, right, correct. His jersey, and supporting his teammates, knowing that he's likely going to be at another address next year, and he probably should be, because to me, I think this is Kyle Trask's team going
Well, it shows a lot about, as I mentioned earlier, the culture that Dan Mullen has built. He and his staff have built in this organization, because they allowed Felipe to participate. He was there all week.
Yeah,
and
that
with,
was great.
with the bowl activities, the
great.
hotel, all that.
He should be. He's
and,
part of the team. Yeah.
Well, a lot of coaches, if you're saying you're transferring, they're like, okay, you're done.
Yeah,
but it was good to see him. And Kyle will be the quarterback next year. Emory Jones will get to play. I thought Emory ran the ball violent.
It's obvious what he's going to do. I couldn't believe
it. But before that game, he'd almost had the same amount of rush attempts as pass attempts in games. People don't realize that.
I don't realize.
I'm not surprised. I was surprised that Dan didn't let him throw it. But I think the way the game evolved didn't allow them to play him as much as they wanted, because the game was a lot closer than I expected. But you got to give Virginia credit, because I'm telling you, the plays that quarterback made and those receivers, it was phenomenal.
It was, and he missed some wide open guys in the second half. I think that Virginia is a team that, coming off that blowout in the ACC championship game, had every reason to just kind of, go through the motions. But why? I mean, they're out there playing just as hard as Florida was, and they provided a sturdy opponent, even though Florida pretty much had the game in hand.
We got a clip here from the game.
But let's take a look at this. Our man Taylor over here working the technology. There it is.
The P-Run.
There he goes, 61 yards in the opening minute of the game there, and I think that really got Florida going. It got the crowd going. Look at the crowd we had down in South Florida for the Gators.
They had over 65,000 people.
That is great. I was surprised by that, because I didn't know folks were interested in watching them play Virginia. But credit to the Gator Nation for showing up in South Florida, in a place where the University of Miami and FAU and all those other schools are trying to establish or reestablish. And the Gators took over South Florida in the Orange Bowl, which is what you would hope for and expect. And Florida's the best team in the state again. There was a time we've gone through since 2008 and 2009 that this school was not the best team in the state of Florida. It clearly is this year, and probably has been for the last 2 years. 21-5 for Dan Mullen in the last 2 years here at Florida. They will finish in the top 10 in consecutive seasons for the first time since 08 and 09. So the Gators are back, okay, and the facilities are coming, and the players are aware of it, and the recruits know it, and we still have to talk about February still. We have a month to go until February signing day. I don't know how many spots are available, but this is how you build your brand back, and this is how you get your mojo back, and this is how you become relevant again, as you recruit these kids to come to Florida, to buy into the system, like you said, and to enjoy the facilities that the administration is going to put in place for them. And I think the next decade is going to be tremendous. I really think that. I mean, I think the next decade could be almost as good as the 90s again, if they can get in control of the East.
Well, that's the key, and it comes down to the Georgia game. But
That's
if you watch Georgia played all year long, and they had a great year, let's not kid ourselves, and they have a great group of players.
Oh, sure.
But they played their best game of the year, and you have to give them credit
against Florida
in the Gator Bowl.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. We're there with them. I don't care what people talk about. We're on a level playing field with them now. We just got to find a way to win next year.
I mean, I don't know what Fromm's going to do. Do you know what Fromm's going to do?
If I'm Fromm, I come back, because I don't think he's a top 3-round quarterback at all.
You know,
I don't.
Well, he has that capability of making some passes now.
Well, I mean most college quarterbacks
he can fit
do.
it right in there.
Most college quarterbacks
I don't know.
do.
Some of those like that ball to Perkins last night, and who the hell is that guy? Where does he come from? He's a freshman wide receiver that broke Hines Ward's record.
Yeah, well, he's been there all year. He was a very highly touted kid.
But we didn't hear from him, and he wasn't really a factor in any of the big games I watched.
None of their
play.
Players were, because
Cager was their guy, right?
Yeah, he had a great game against us, but that was about it. That's my point. Georgia just squeaked by most of their opponents all year, but they played their best game of the year against us, and Fromm had his best game of the year against the Gators. But you're right. If you look ahead next year, Florida should, on paper, be favored in every game except, and I guess it depends on how they play early.
Yeah.
The Georgia game, but they will be favored over every team.
Oh, well, LSU may.
It's here. We're going to be favored over them.
It is here.
I'll tell you that right now. I don't care who their quarterback is.
Yeah.
Florida will be favored to win that game in the Swamp.
The schedule is very favorable. The Western rotation team is Mississippi, and I can't imagine they will have improved to the point where they're going to threaten some of the top 4 or 5 teams in this league yet. I know Lane Kiffin's going to do a lot of exciting things, but that's their opponent on the road in the West is Mississippi and not Alabama or not, some of these. Who's the other? Auburn.
I believe Georgia has to play
Texas
Alabama
A&M.
next year.
Georgia plays Alabama in September at Tuscaloosa after Alabama gets done with Southern California in Dallas. So we're going to talk about Alabama and Georgia and these other teams in the bowl games after the break, but we're not ready for that yet. With just a few more things about the Gators there, QB. Trask, the Gators had 549 yards of offense, and Trask had 305 yards. Never made a mistake.
Well, he threw an interception.
He threw an interception, but I don't know if it really killed us. He ran for a touchdown. And, what I'm interested in, and maybe you can give us some light on this, is who's going to be catching balls next year in the Florida uniform to help him out. Because
a lot of guys.
Yeah, and I think
talent.
we should talk about that a little bit, even though we don't know exactly what they're capable of doing, but there's talented players coming, I guess is what I'm
Well, there's a lot. They are so excited about their I think it's 3 freshman receivers that are being redshirted this year that 2 of them are the 2 of the fastest kids on the team, and they love them.
That's good. Are they tall?
Oh, they don't have to be tall. I mean, Josh.
No, they don't have to.
They don't have to be.
They don't have to be.
Yeah,
I know there's a Jalen Waddle out there somewhere.
Listen, Trey Grimes is coming back.
Yeah.
You're going to have the tight ends coming back. Kyle Pitts.
And you could almost line Kyle up off the line.
I don't know what Tony's doing. If Tony's smart, he comes back because he's not really a wide receiver.
No, but I'm big on Kyle Pitts guy.
Well, he has to come back.
Oh, he will.
But they have they're going to have a couple. They're going to have probably 3 transfer wide receivers coming in. I'm not concerned one bit.
No, it's great. I think I wouldn't consider it a concern. I would consider it something to get excited about because this is going to open up Trask and it's going to get that offensive line, blocking for the play action and those kinds of things that they can run. I just like that kind of offense. I like establishing the pass to just kill that offensive line or the line of scrimmage with the running game. So that's the kind of game I like to watch. I like seeing points. In this day and age, man, you have to get points on the board. You have to score over 20, 25 points per game to be considered legit offensively. And I think that's what so many teams run into. They just bog down as the season goes along, and Florida certainly did not. And they showed up in that bowl game and did well. I mean, you've won 11 games here, and they won 10 last year and 11 this year. So tremendous season. Dan Mullen, great job recruiting now up until February to get some more kids in here. I don't know how many spots they got left. Do you know how many?
Gosh, I don't know right offhand.
Yeah.
We'll get more into recruiting in the next month or so.
But the trend, man, if you're putting Florida on the stock ticker, the arrows are up. And it's exciting to see for the first time in 10 years because, last year was great, but you got to back it up. It's kind of like you got to validate that birdie that you had in 20 what year is this, 2018? You got
This is 2020.
Yeah, well, it's 2019 season. So you got to validate that 2018 year, and they did with 11 wins.
Well, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see because the expectations of this Florida football team going into next year are so high. A lot of people they're going to be in the preseason. JC, they're going to be one of the teams that everyone talks about making the 14 playoff only because of what they've done the last 2 years. How many people they have coming back and the schedule. The schedule sets up so well.
Yeah, that LSU game at home. And the Mississippi game as the Western rotation.
The only 2 games, maybe there's 3 games out of the state of Florida.
You got to play at Tennessee, and you got to play at, whatever it is, you can look it up. Anybody can look it up, but I know it's Tennessee.
But I think there's only 3 games out of the state of Florida.
That just pisses so many people off outside of the SEC.
Well, it is. This is Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. That's JC. I'm the QB. We're coming to you live from Crime Prevention Security Systems Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care.
Monday through Friday, we're on from 8 to 9 o'clock, 352-353-7465. If you want to talk Gator football or the bowl games, we've got NFL playoffs upcoming this weekend. The wild card weekend is here. I love this time of year in January for that league. Lots to talk about, lots going on. Golf's going to start. We'll mention that here in the next 40 or 45 minutes. But Gator football is the primary focus today on Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. I'm JC. Call us in at the show at 352-353-7465. Check us out on Facebook Live and on YouTube.
Welcome back. It's Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning, coming to you live from Crime Prevention Security Systems here. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. He's JC, John Cornell. Well, this is the Rose Bowl.
We're at the foot of the San Gabriel Mountains now during this segment here.
The most spectacular
the setting.
I tell you what.
The pageantry.
I agree with all that. But they make this, I mean, put two SEC teams in that. They should move the SEC championship game there for the pageantry.
Half the place would be fun. I think, that stadium is 115 or 16 years old, whatever it is. I've been there. Folks, save your money. I'm here to tell you. I know it's big for the Midwest folks and the West Coast folks because it's the holy grail of football there because there's really not much in terms of college football in that part of the country. There really isn't. UCLA fills up maybe half that stadium during a game. You could literally fall asleep at any given moment during a Pac-12 game with the Bruins playing in that dump. And it is old, and it is not as great as everybody thinks it is.
Well,
I'm not trying to crank on the Rose Bowl, but it's not. It's overrated.
You know what it is?
What I'm trying to say.
It's Legion Field, but surrounded by blue skies and a mountain, right?
Well, yeah, it's old. It's old as hell. Now
Yeah.
they and there is absolutely zero parking. Okay, you literally walk through people's neighborhoods and front yards and backyards of old
Lambeau
movie
Field.
stars to get to that stadium. There is a golf course that surrounds it. That provides your parking and pregame activities. I was there in 2009 when Texas played Alabama. By the way, this is a Bevo hat because we're proud of what they did in their bowl game. Absolutely.
You will never see JC wear a hat of a team that lost the night before.
Why would we want to celebrate losing, QB? So here's Bevo angry, and they put one on Utah. To think, QB, that Utah and Baylor, the team we watched Georgia push around last night, were considered this close to the college football championship. Had they won their conference, probably would have been in the college football championship. LSU could have named the score in that game like they did against Oklahoma, who once again gets blown out in the college football playoff. So there we are. So
yesterday in the Rose Bowl,
great game.
It was. It was a game dominated by the Badgers
and lost by the Badgers.
Oregon got 4 turnovers.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a play of the day or a player of the day each day on our show here.
Oh, good.
And the play of the day from yesterday is the Wisconsin punter, who just basically drops the snap, scoop and score for Oregon, and it was a huge play in the game.
Let's take a look at this play. There it is.
I mean, and then they benched the punter after that. But Oregon did nothing in this game.
Except win.
Except win. You're right.
But you're right. Everything went. I don't know how they were in it. Honestly, God, they looked like a bunch of wide receivers playing defense. First of all, and somehow Wisconsin just handed it to them. There was also a bad break Wisconsin took in the fourth quarter as they were trying to sustain a drive to kick a field goal to win the game when one of their players was called for pass interference on a ball that on a play that I didn't see any pass interference. He didn't hardly touch the guy, and that put them in a 3rd and 20 situation, and that was all she wrote for the Badgers. And I don't know, man. To me, I don't know how Wisconsin lost the game, but if you are an Oregon fan, or if you were an Oregon fan for 4 hours because of other reasons, then you're happy.
You're fortunate.
You
very
are
fortunate.
Very fortunate.
Let's talk about a couple of the other games that happened yesterday on New Year's Day.
Well, first,
let's talk about your alma mater, Alabama.
Alabama.
And we have a text from here from Jerry in Live Oak. He wants to know, JC, were you concerned at all yesterday the way the game started? And are you concerned about your defensive coordinator at Alabama?
Well, Pete Golding is taking a lot of heat right now. Somehow they were able to keep Michigan off the scoreboard in the second half. But I was concerned when I saw them physically take control of the game in the first half. I thought Michigan was the better team aggressively running the football. What I don't understand and what I'm sure happened was they got away from the run in the second half, and I think Alabama made an adjustment by adding another guy in the box that kind of confused Michigan to some point to where they tried to make Shea Patterson win the game for them, and we all seen how that's gone this year. But I think at the beginning, Michigan tried to enforce a little physicality on that team and were successful doing it. They only scored 1 touchdown. Mm-hmm. So having said that, Alabama should be given some credit with a makeshift defense that learned a lot this year. They somehow win 11 games in what is considered a disappointing season. Should have beaten Auburn, I think we all know that, but didn't. And so would have gotten probably embarrassed in the playoff had they made it against LSU in Atlanta. I loved the way Mac Jones played. I loved the way Najee Harris played. Jerry Jeudy made himself some money yesterday.
He already made a lot of money.
Well, but I think he really solidified himself because he was asleep in the Auburn game. You couldn't find him on the side of a milk carton in the Auburn game, but you found him in the bowl game against Michigan on that first play and as a player of the game with 200 receiving yards. And look, give this kid Mac Jones a lot of credit to step in for this quarterback that got hurt. I mean, for Tua, I think he did great.
Do you think he's going to be your quarterback next year?
I think he's going to be right there in the running for it. And I know that they're bringing in the top quarterback in the country from California, and Bryce Young, I think his name is. But you've got him. You've got Tua's little brother. And on Monday,
I don't think Tua's little brother's going to be in the mix.
Well, possibly not, but he's there anyway. And then we've got Tua making that decision public on whether or not he's going to come back on Monday. I just have this feeling he's going to come back. Well, and if that happens, then all the rest of these guys are going to watch.
I think he probably should come back, but we'll wait and see.
He's an elite talent, but your question with him comes down to durability. Mm-hmm. And he has failed to finish a college football regular season without being hurt in 2 straight years. If you're an NFL executive and you're about to fork out $10 to $20 million and give this kid a first-round draft you better know that he's not going to just fall apart. And I don't know if they know that, and so I think you're right. I think he is going to forego the draft and come back and try to play with a chip on his shoulder next year. Alabama's going to have a linebacker that comes back that's been out for the whole year. I think we'll see Alabama and LSU fight it out for the West next year.
Yeah, very good win for the conference there with Alabama.
It was good. And
they represented it, but there's another school, the other school that you don't care for, that did not represent very well. And I am shocked today that you did not come into the studios. That's the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
Sure it is.
In a row the boat sweatshirt.
As soon as it gets to the house in the mail.
Oh, you already ordered.
I'll have a gopher hat.
I want one that says row the boat.
Row the boat. Well, I want one with that goofy, funny-looking gopher that they had on the side of their helmet. Although I do like the M. Let's give P.J. Fleck in Minnesota all the credit in the world. What a season. They will have a reunion 20 years from now about this team that did not win its conference, did not win its division, but did win 11 games and beat the blue blood Auburn Tigers in Florida, where they brought 25,000 fans from Minnesota to enjoy the weather and watch their team win. And, man, they put it on Auburn's great defense, physically on the offensive line. And that wide receiver, Tyler Johnson, is that his name, Tyler Johnson? Whatever it is, that cat's a first-round draft pick. So
I don't know about that.
You don't
He's
think
a very
those
good
Minnesota
player.
receivers are good?
They're very good,
Huh.
but just because he
they're great.
played well doesn't mean he's a first-round
He
draft
had a
pick.
good season, my man.
But I will say this: Auburn has problems, and the reason I say this, they had the better athletes, but quarterback-wise, I'm not sure Bo Nix is the answer.
You
there.
say they have better athletes, but Minnesota had some dudes also, and they did not look out of place against Auburn.
No, they
That
didn't.
team looked very much like an SEC
Here's what I'm
type
going to
team
say.
or
I think for whatever you want to say about the goofiness, if you want to call it that, of PJ Fleck with all his row the boat this, row the boat that.
He's a winner, man.
He's a tremendous football coach, and he has his kids believing. And they are very well coached.
Yes.
And I think they outcoached Auburn, they outplayed Auburn, and they deserve to win the game.
But to your point again on Bo Nix at Auburn, freshman, learned a lot this year. Had some ups and downs, but you're concerned about him.
But
as the
JC,
starter
they scored
going
24 points, correct? Auburn.
Yeah.
7 of those came on a kickoff return, and the other 7 was on a fourth down scramble where Minnesota busted the coverage and left a guy wide open. So my point is, Auburn's offense is all based off running the football, and if you can't run it, he can't throw it well enough to win. So
I think they only threw 11 passes in the first half. I mean,
they're not a very good throwing football team, and they have really skilled guys on the outside, but they can't get them the football.
No, and I don't know what Gus's deal is. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? He really pulled a fast one on Saban in Auburn to finish that game.
And everybody was loving him.
Now he's great. And now all of a sudden this guy can't beat the fourth team or third best team in the Big Ten in Florida wearing the blue uniforms. I know when they lost. They lost the game, QB, when they put that goofy number on the side of their helmet on one side. And I don't care why they did it. It's stupid. That's not what Auburn does. They have the AU on both sides of the helmet.
They were paying tribute to Pat Sullivan.
Well, that's fine. Okay,
everybody
great.
had the same number.
Do you have to do that on a helmet? Why don't you put a PS on the back of your helmet in black? I mean, that was just crazy. But to me, Auburn is crazy. Okay, Auburn they are such an 8-4 perennial 8-4 team every year that I don't know if that's what they want there, but that's what they got, and that's who they are. They are Auburn, and they, along with your guys in Starkville, your Bulldogs, had the dubious distinction of losing the only 2 games the conference has lost so far in the bowl season.
I will tell you this:
we have Tennessee left, but the SEC went 6-2, and your Bulldogs and Auburn just bailed on us.
They're not my Bulldogs, but I will say
you had a daughter that went to school there.
Yeah,
they're your Bulldogs.
But I grew up a rebel, so
or a black bear,
shark, whatever you want to call it. We were rebels then. Okay. I will say this: I'm not sure Joe Moorhead makes it through the season next year. They had no business. They were out-coached. Now, I think Satterfield's a tremendous coach, and what he's done at Louisville is outstanding. But if you see the teams and how teams just ran the ball down Louisville's throat all year long, and that's what Mississippi State should be doing to Louisville, and they couldn't. It doesn't matter.
Well, he was their best running back, who, by the way, was the leading rusher in the conference.
No, I agree with that, but if you're a good football team, you should still be able to move the football if that's what your strength is. Doesn't matter who the tailback is.
I really don't know what Mississippi State's strength is.
Well, there is none. It was a horrible game for them.
But this guy was supposed to be the great offensive mind out of Penn State who tutored Joe Brady and who was the man. And they brought him in thinking that they were going to light up the lamp. And they are a 6-7 football team. They went 8-4 with the best talent they probably had there in years.
And honestly, they shouldn't have been in the bowl game.
They couldn't have even been. They were lucky to be 8-4. And you're right. This year they may not have been in a bowl game had somebody not pretended to be a dog in the end zone for Mississippi. So I hear you, and I agree with that. But as a conference, the Southeastern. Okay, so now we're going to hear everybody outside of the SEC say, well, you can't have it both ways. When the SEC doesn't do well, it's because they don't care. When the SEC does well, it's because they have the best teams. But the numbers are the numbers, and they are 6-2 this year in the bowl season, followed by, who do you think is the second conference with the most wins. Well, I should say with the best winning percentage in the bowl
winning
games.
percentage. It's probably going to be one of those.
It's the Pac-12 at
Really?
4-3. The Big Ten is 4-2. The Mountain West is 4-2. So so the Mountain West has the best winning percentage, followed by the Pac-12 at 4-3. The Big Ten is 4-4 thus far. The ACC is 4-5. Conference USA is 3-4. The American Athletic is 2-3. The MAC is 2-3, and Independents have gone 2-1. And the Big 12 has one team that won a bowl game so far. Can you tell me who that is?
Texas.
And that's it.
You know, it's
1
funny
in
about
5 for the Big 12.
It's
baby.
funny
There's
about
Bevo
Texas.
right here, the
Texas,
old angry
Texas
Bevo.
has always, since Tom Herman's been there, they've been very disappointing throughout the
But
year.
they're 4-0 in bowl games.
But they,
under him.
but what good's it do to win the Alamo Bowl?
Yeah, that's not what they want.
Right.
And you're right. And it's true that they were an underdog coming into that game against the mighty Utah Utes, who everybody was ready to put in the 4th spot, and who Joel Klatt said was one of the best defenses he had ever seen, although he had to watch Oregon and Texas light it up. So it's just so funny to me how we see these teams during the season and we make these assessments, and then something happens between the last game, final exams, and whatever postseason game they're in, and they almost look completely different. But that Utah team that played Oregon in the Pac-12 championship and then played Bevo in that Alamo Bowl or whatever the hell bowl it was in San Antonio, they were terrible. That team didn't have any business even being thought of as one of the 4 best teams. And that's the thing with college football, isn't it? We had 3 elite teams, QB. 3 elite teams, and that's it.
No, I agree. JC, we got another text here for you.
And I got one for you.
It's from Fred. He didn't say where he's from.
Okay.
But JC, do you think Jim Harbaugh will end up being the coach at Michigan next year?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. He's not going anywhere.
You don't think he's going to go to an NFL job?
No, I don't think he's going to take an NFL job. I think he's got one more, maybe 2 more years. You know, this guy is so
But his record
amazing.
against
he hasn't beaten Ohio State.
But it's I saw yesterday they threw something up there. Is it a record against top 10 teams maybe?
Well, I saw something that said he was 0-10 as an underdog.
Maybe that's
They've
what it was.
never come back from a 7-point deficit, if you can believe that. And they're 1-4 in bowl games under Jim Harbaugh. They can't beat their chief rival. The talent gap between Ohio State and Michigan is there, although Michigan is probably as talented as every other team in the league. They didn't hire Jim Harbaugh and fork out $7 million per year to give to be that team. They hired him to beat Ohio State, and he clearly can't do it. They did score 39 points in a game against Ohio State where they could have probably won that, but they didn't win, and that's the result. So
you're listening to
that's
Pot
it.
Up with Matthews in the morning. He's JC. I'm the QB. We're coming to you live from Crime Prevention Security System Studios. And if you want to get involved with the show, you can call or text. The text line is 352-353-7465.
We're here from 8 to 9, Monday through Friday. And
Thought you had a text.
We will, yeah, I was going to give it to you. The text is from Lewis. Don't know where Lewis is from. Lewis says, QB, with LaMichael Pirine being a senior, who will fill the void at that position for Florida? And do the Gators have any studs coming in at the skill positions to give Kyle Trask a chance to have a big season?
Well, they have a lot of they're going to have a lot of receiver type guys. Right now, they have not signed from what I understand a running back. I think they got some more coming on visits in February, hoping to get a running back. But I think the guys that are going to take over are Damian Pierce, who runs extremely hard, and Malik Davis, who got a couple of carries in the Orange Bowl. So
I like Malik Davis.
They'll be
Damian
fine
Pierce
at the running
fast.
back position.
I think so. I hope so. Now, depth could be an issue, but they'll sign some kids in there. Here's another one. This is from Kyle. Kyle says, who's a Dallas Cowboy fan.
Oh, boy.
Kyle says, will y'all please send Dan Mullen to Dallas so we can get rid of Jason Garrett? Jerry needs to find a clue. The Cowboys suck. Thank you, Kyle. All right.
Well, let me tell you this, Kyle. We ain't sending Dan Mullen to you.
He wants Dan Mullen.
I don't think Dan Mullen's going to the Cowboys.
Is that even a rumor, or is that just something
I
that
think somebody on one of the
Social
ESPN
media?
or one of those talk shows I think it's only because he coached Dak Prescott. But it's silly to me.
That's a natural
I
connection.
think Dan is happy being a Gator. I think his wife and kids love
He's
it here.
got kids, too. I mean, yeah.
But it's I think maybe 10 years from now he may entertain it, but
What's he make here? Do you know?
He makes $6 million.
Okay, so I mean, what's
and
Jerry
he's probably
going to
get a raise.
8, 9? I mean, really, at some point, it's quality of life. It's stress.
Well, there's stress coaching in the SEC, JC.
Well, there is,
recruiting.
but the Dallas Cowboys with Jerry Jones up there looking down at
Right.
you and buzzing you every 5 minutes in the football facility on any given day. My God, Scott Strickland loves Dan Mullen. He brought him here. He wasn't his first choice, believe it or not, but he did bring him here.
We don't know that.
Well, I thought Chip Kelly was your guy here.
We don't know that.
Okay, we don't know that. But Danny is here, and he's here to stay, I think, because he's got a goal. And the goal is to win that conference and to beat the Georgia Bulldogs, and then from winning the conference, going to the next step and into the college football playoff, which we will have for at least until 2023 at 4 teams. So, you have to win the SEC in all likelihood to get there, and there they are trying to do that next year, and hopefully they'll have success against Georgia and everyone else.
Yeah, so let's jump back to the 4-team playoff,
All right,
the two semifinal games, since we didn't get to talk about
games.
them.
Well, one of them.
LSU, the game went about how I knew it was going to be a boat race. I didn't think it would be that bad, but the bottom line is LSU just embarrassed Oklahoma, and it seems like every year. What has Oklahoma been in this 3 years now?
I think they've
been embarrassed every time, haven't they? Except
they played
against Georgia.
And should have won, but lost in the second half to Georgia. But they have been thrashed in these games. Last year it was in the Orange Bowl in the semifinal. This year it was in the Peach Bowl in the semifinal. And I know Jalen Hurts was there to try to win a national championship. I think he did as much as he could have, given what his skill set is. I think he made a smart decision to play for Lincoln Riley, and he got back into the mainstream with people's attention, but he had no chance trying to match up points with that team.
Well,
and
I've
Joe
never seen anything like that.
Who is amazing.
Joe Burrow, in my opinion, is the
amazing.
best college quarterback I've ever seen. I think he's Tom Brady with mobility. But I saw where, he throws 7 touchdowns in the first half against Oklahoma. Northwestern, the entire football team, threw 6 passing touchdowns
for the
entire year.
Yeah.
Which, first of all, that just blows my mind. I mean, that's like a wishbone team in high school.
That's crazy. That's PK Young. I mean, nothing against PK, but I mean, it's amazing to me, isn't it? I mean, how Joe Burrow really. And here's the difference. This brings up a point I want to make between a guy like Ed Orgeron and a guy like Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh has all this hype. Ed Orgeron is basically shunned when he gets to LSU. They're not impressed with that hire. They didn't even want him there. And then Ed Orgeron makes a decision to bring in a couple of guys that can help him. He has a relationship with the New Orleans Saints and Sean Payton, and they work together in a lot of ways, but they found just Joe Brady guy out of Penn State, and it's just out of the Saints, I should say. And it's just been a tremendous transition of power to say, okay, as the head coach, I am going to allow Steve Ensminger and Joe Brady to work together. And to their credit, they both put their egos aside and said, yes, we will work together to get this kid where he needs to be. His completion percentage went from 50% to over 70 some odd percent, which as a quarterback is crazy. That is a great number. And this kid won the Heisman Trophy going away. I mean, it wasn't one of those, well, who's going to do it? Who's going to be announced and go up on stage? That kid was amazing this year. And he took college football by the story. He's a player of the year. LSU, to me, is the team of the year. I know Clemson's undefeated. They haven't lost with Trevor Lawrence, who's a stud. No question about it. But my God, I saw Ohio State push them around, and I really thought Ohio State was the better team for most of that game. But Clemson hung in there, and that's why they're a championship team. And they were tested, and they passed. So, with Etienne being really their only threat, you had T. Higgins hurt. You had Ross hurt. Who did they have to take care of themselves? It was Trevor Lawrence.
Well, yeah, but those guys that you just mentioned are phenomenal.
They are,
players.
But T. Higgins was not a factor in that game, and Ross was hurt for most of the game. So I was impressed with the way Clemson stuck in there. They got the benefit of a couple calls that Ohio State fans will rue forever.
But Ohio
State didn't score touchdowns.
Right.
They had, I don't know how many chances
by
to
the
score
rule
touchdowns.
book. those were penalties, and you have to call
Oh,
them.
no, the targeting I agreed with. The fumble that should have been 6 points, I didn't agree with. I thought that was certainly a fumble. But the targeting, I have no problem. The dude's helmet hit the other kid's helmet.
I thought it was a fumble too, but by the way it's written in the book, it wasn't a fumble.
Well, then I guess they shouldn't have an argument. But what their real problem was at Ohio State, and what they should admit, but they won't because they're Ohio State, is that they had a chance to win that game convincingly and failed to score touchdowns. They scored 16 points. That's 3 field goals and 1 touchdown, and they were inside the red zone for most of that first half, and they couldn't put it in the end zone. Credit to Clemson, but here's the problem Clemson's going to run into. When LSU gets in the red zone, I'm betting there's better than a 50% probability that, unlike Ohio State, they will be in the end zone. And when you fall behind LSU, forget it. This team is one of the best teams that's ever been assembled and played college football, and they will not let you off the hook if you let them basically dictate the pace of play. And when they get in the red zone, it's 6, baby.
Well, we're going to take our second time out. You're listening to Pod Up with Matthew in the morning.
We have a listener from Colorado, Denver, Colorado.
Right.
Timmy is with us.
Well, maybe they'll send you a text, JC.
Timmy, send us a text. The number is 352-353-7465. He's our Colorado Avalanche correspondent and all things Denver. We will take a break here on Pod Up with Matthews in the morning. I'm JC. We're here from Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Our number 352-353-7465. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. It's Pod Up with Matthews in the morning, coming to you live from Crime Prevention Security Systems.
Studios.
Yeah, studios. We're going to try to have
What do we do?
a play of the day each day that, we're going to talk about, and we'll have someone sponsoring that. We're also going to have a contest every day, and you can either send your answers of the contest via Facebook, comment, however, or you can go to the website, which is potupwithshane.com, potupwithshane.com. And the contest for today is basically simple. It's pick the score, the winner and your score of the Tennessee Indiana
game.
Tax Slayer Gator Bowl.
Oh, it's amazing that the Gator Bowl is being played after all of the other games. That game.
What
used to be
is the
a
last
New Year's
bowl
Day
game played?
It's the one in Birmingham, I think.
The Birmingham Bowl? No, it's today. Birmingham Bowl's today.
Oh, it
it's
is?
BC and Cincinnati play today.
There is one with Lafayette. Oh, it's Southern Mississippi playing somebody.
Is it the one in Mobile?
It's Southern Miss, whoever they're playing. Look, QB, look what I have.
I'm telling you,
Look
Gators
at that.
win. JC pulls out a cup. He brings
Wait a
in
minute.
an old
This is a cup you
$15 sweatshirt.
You sold me to support Gainesville High School
Oh.
athletics. You
Oh.
don't remember
Good
this?
purchase. Good purchase.
Good purchase. You don't even remember selling it to me. I don't know if that's the real Gator, but it's a Gator.
That's a fighting gator.
Yeah,
He
baby.
looks mean, doesn't
Yeah,
he?
there he is. There's a logo up there. It's a great little cup, man. You sold me this one, a Texas one. You sold me an Alabama one. I even bought a Florida State one because I thought I was going to give it to some Florida State clients, but
And you just burned it?
nobody claims to be a Florida State fan except the guy I play golf
So,
with.
whoa. Speaking of them,
But,
we have
okay.
to we have to talk about the Semis and the Canes and their bowl games.
Well, I tried to lead you into that with our being the best team in the state, but
Well, I forgot about
you
it.
didn't
It just
pick
dawned
up
on
on
me.
it. Okay.
Okay, that Miami game in Shreveport against La Tech, boy, were they bad.
Oh my God, they didn't score. How do you go to a bowl game against a team called La Tech and not score? I mean, and Dan,
then-
he knows it cost him his job.
Well, no, he was being fired before that.
Oh,
but
he
let me
was.
tell you something.
Okay.
It goes far. Here's the thing about the way the coaching business works, and it blows my mind. Dan Enos got hired at Miami because of why? He was a
Because of what
quarterback
he
coach
did
at
for
Alabama.
Tua, yeah.
He didn't do nothing for
Well,
Tua.
he was Tua's coach.
I don't care.
Actually,
You could
he
coach
was
Tua.
Jalen Hurts' coach, too.
You could coach Tua.
Well, he was also
Taylor
Jalen's-
could coach Tua.
But he
You
was
know,
also
it's
Jalen
the
Hurts'
same
coach.
thing whenever you get these gurus that train all these
gurus.
people. They don't tell you about the kids that never throw a pass in high school that they train. They only talk about the ones that their girlfriend and wives can train. You know, the talented ones. Okay. But anyway, Dan Enos had no business being there. I'm not sure Manny Diaz should be the head coach there.
Has he won anywhere?
I hope. Well, he's never coached. He's never been a head coach. This is his first time. But let's move over to the Tallahassee. Boy, what did Blackman have? 4 interceptions, a fumble.
It's such a disaster.
They were so bad.
They are as bad as Florida was in 2014. I mean, that's where it's gone. It's gone completely down the toilet, and they have to rebuild. They have to regroup. They have to hire.
Well, I think
they did hire Mike Norvell.
I think Mike Norvell will do a good job there, but it's going to take time.
Yeah, and why is it going to take time? Because you recruit once or twice a year, and you sign kids, and it takes a while for them to develop. So, or to make an impact, I should say. So, so you're right. I think Florida State, it can't get any worse, can it? So
I don't think so.
No, and at Miami, that is such disarray down there. They're still living off that 2001 team that they think can beat anybody, which I don't think so. And yet there they are talking about the U and all this garbage. They don't.
They got that silly turnover chain and all that.
That program is in such disarray and chaos. They get 20,000 fans to come watch them play against Wake Forest. You know, I mean, it's just it's a bad product.
So did both of them finish 6 and 7 this year?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know how they even got to a bowl game. They're like the Mississippi State. I mean, it's just a bad team playing in an extra game. Of the
Well,
year.
I can see how Mississippi State got in there at
Well,
6 and 6 because they're an SEC. They played a tough schedule. When you look at what Miami did and you look at Florida State, I mean, those are some bad football teams.
Text messages rolling in 352-353-7465 with Pot Up with Matthews in the morning. We have Susie, excuse me, JC, my brother played for a school called La Tech.
You dang right.
Thank you, Susie.
He's a
well, that
proud
school,
bulldog.
that school is in what is it, Ruston, Louisiana, right there on I-20, or is it in Monroe? Is it in
No,
Monroe?
that would be Louisiana Monroe that plays in Monroe.
True. So La Tech's in Ruston.
Yes.
Okay. That's right off I-20 up there on the top of the boot. I don't know. Louisiana is a very happy state right now, and that's because their state institution has taken over college football, at least for 1 year. Enjoy it now, LSU folks, because that red team won't be down long. And
Red?
Crimson.
Okay.
Crimson Tide. So Yeah. Oh, and I saw this other stat. We were talking about poor Jim Harbaugh. Do you know that in the last 20 years, the Rutgers Scarlet Knights have more bowl wins than Michigan in the last
Repeat
20
that.
years? The Rutgers Scarlet Knights, their Big Ten opponent there
Where football
in
started.
the East, the Rutgers Scarlet Knights have more bowl wins in the last 20 years. That's 6.
That's interesting.
Michigan has 5. Harbaugh is 1-4 in the bowls. He is 0-10 as an underdog. He's not even close to Ohio State in terms of recruiting talent. And Michigan is a team that I don't think offense necessarily is the problem. I think it's their defense. And they allow teams to score a lot of points on them. So you look at sedated Jim Harbaugh on the sideline. He doesn't exercise his authority. It doesn't seem, he doesn't get into players' faces and get them fired up. You saw Nick Saban yesterday just undress the defensive backs in the second half, and they still played pretty well to win that game by not allowing Michigan to score. And he's all in their face. So that's the difference. I think Harbaugh is on some sort of medication.
Well,
or
here's the
something,
thing,
'cause
Jason.
this guy is not
different
getting it
coaches
done.
coach different ways.
But Harbaugh used to be a fiery dude. Remember when he was at Stanford and when he coached in the NFL, he's jumping around crazy and everything. At Michigan, he sits there with those reading glasses of his, and he just looks like he's in some sort of coma. And I think Michigan fans have had. I think we all know the honeymoon's over, but we're not going to waste any time talking about Harbaugh anymore. They are miserable at Michigan. Okay, Alabama beat them with a bunch of freshmen and sophomores on defense and a backup quarterback from Jacksonville Bowles High School that never plays.
True.
And blew them out 35-14 with a running back from California and a wide receiver from West Palm Beach and a quarterback from Jacksonville.
All right, JC, we have a few more minutes here before we leave.
I love Susie's text. Thank you for texting that school law text.
Well, she's proud of her brother, and she should be. Before we leave the Crime Prevention Security System studio here, we got 2 bowl games today. We're going to go back to the
Who you got?
Legion Field, the Birmingham Bowl.
Thank God they got rid of the upper deck there. That thing was falling.
You got BC and Cincinnati
All right,
playing.
so give me the Eagles plus the 6.5.
Can you? It's hard to believe that BC fires Adazio, and he's been to a bowl game I think every year
it's
except
Boston
once.
College. I know it's Boston freaking College.
I know.
What do they think? Tom Coffin's going to come back and save the program? I mean, really? He can't even keep a job in Jacksonville.
They hired some guy from one of the Ohio State. I think their defensive coordinator.
Okay, that might help him.
And then this evening, I'm not sure what. Yeah, I think it's tonight. Tennessee, Indiana, over in Jacksonville.
Another SEC.
I think that'll be a pretty good crowd at the Gator Bowl.
Oh, the Tennessee fans are thrilled. I mean, they're thrilled.
Well, you don't think Indiana fans are happy?
Oh, no, they are. No, but I'm not concerned with the Indiana. I'm just looking at the conference here. I'm a conference guy, and I think Tennessee fans love going to Jacksonville, love being in Florida right now, and love the way their team has finished the season. They're happy. And Jeremy Pruitt, I mean, we saw that team come here in September, QB, and you told me, this is the worst damn Tennessee team I think I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. You did. You said that. And they have turned it around. Garantano, whatever his name, has played better.
They have, but they've turned it around against bad football teams. So,
well, they were a bad football team.
Right, but so they are a better bad football team beating really bad teams.
Bad football team beating bad teams.
We'll see, because Indiana's had a really good year this year. I couldn't even tell you the name of their head coach. Could you? No. Yeah, he's done a phenomenal job.
But he's done a great job. And that school, I don't know how they get any players, but good for them.
Should
and
be a
they're
good
thrilled
game.
to be in Jacksonville, too. Tennessee turned down Nashville. They turned it down. They didn't want to go to the Music City Bowl. So I think Music City had the choice, and they turned it down. And here they are at the Gator Bowl. We call it the Gator Bowl, right, QB?
Absolutely.
Whatever, Tax Slayer. But I love it's Tom Allen.
Tom Allen.
He is the coach for the Indiana
Like
Hoosiers.
I said, you could give me
Tom Allen, Joe
500
Brown,
names. I would have never
Steve
guessed Tom
Smith.
Allen.
Tom Allen, God bless him, and the good for those Hoosiers. And one of the reasons why they're doing better is because they've gone back to the helmet with just the white eye on it instead of all the stars and the constellations and all that crazy crap they had on their helmet.
That's why they're doing well?
That white eye on that red helmet is an identifier, and that tells you are looking at Indiana. I mean, their jerseys look like Oklahoma's.
They look just like Oklahoma.
Yeah, they do. And so good for the Hoosiers, good for the Vols. these fans, listen, they're not going to win national championships, but if they win a bowl game and their team ends up with a winning record and Tennessee gets to 8 wins on the season, that's a successful season, I think, for Jeremy Pruitt. It's tough. He's playing in a tough league, and that program had completely bottomed out. So good for Tennessee, and let's hope they can beat Indiana. And good for Indiana. I mean, that's a team that we never talk about. So,
Yep.
yeah.
So that's going to be a wrap for today,
Yeah.
JC.
Is it?
That's
We're
2020.
done? Is that it?
It's a new year.
The pilot show of 2020
That's
is
right.
in the books.
It's Pod Up with Matthews in the morning, like you said, live every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to
All
9
right.
a.m.
Come
We can't
back
wait to
tomorrow.
see what sweatshirt or hat JC has
I'm
on
so
tomorrow.
full
Are you
of
going to wear a
surprises,
Tennessee
bro.
Vol
Oh
hat?
no, no, I'm not that crazy.
What would you wear
about it.
Indiana if they win?
I might. You just
might?
never know. Like I said, the Minnesota
You have those
Gopher
goofy
gear is on,
sweatpants you could wear.
the Gopher gear is in the mail, baby.
No, I'm talking about the Indiana candy stripe pants that the basketball
I
team
like
wears.
those. Yeah, those are cool. Yeah.
See you
I'm not
tomorrow.
wearing those. We'll see you tomorrow.